was a fascinating new opinion piece in The Guardian confirming our suspicions that rich men do indeed cry.
I care. That's it.
It never gets old. Like that little quivering lip, it's delicious.
And to me, the best part is the quivering chin. I didn't know your chin could quiver. I'm gonna be taxed a little bit.
Yeah, remember, he's crying over a proposed wealth tax. That was what that segment and those tears were about. Now, luckily, we have an expert weighing in on wealthy people and how damaged they really are. Okay, this is such a fascinating op-ed because I always felt that if you're wealthy, you have an obligation, a responsibility to everyone to enjoy that wealth, but that is not what's happening. So this was written by Clay Cockrell, and it's titled, "I'm a Therapist to the Super Rich. They are as miserable as Succession makes out." And of course, that's a reference to the HBO hit show Succession, which you all should be watching right now because it's fantastic. But I think the takeaway from this is even better. So I'm gonna read a few excerpts and then we'll discuss. Succession is built on the idea of a group of wealthy children vying for who will take the mantle from their father. None of them are able to convince him that they can do it, and that is because they have reached adulthood completely unprepared to take on all responsibility. I think that's a good description without giving any spoilers away, right? Now, he also writes that over the years, I have developed a great deal of empathy for those who have far too much. The television program Succession, now in its third season, does such a good job of exploring the kinds of toxic excess my clients struggle with that when my wife is watching it, I have to leave the room. It just feels like work. So what he's doing here is really justifying some of the anguish that ultra wealthy people experience. And obviously these are difficulties that are very different from what the vast majority of people experience. I would argue not being able to pay for shelter or provide food for your family, like that is clearly something that needs to be addressed and I think should take priority in our society. However, if you are raised in a fabulously wealthy family, as Tucker Carlson was, as the heir of the Swanson fortune. I think Carlson is a perfect example of how damaged you can end up being, right? And it's because of a number of different factors. The fact that you might not feel you have any purpose in life because you don't have to work for things like other people do. So as Cockrell writes in this op-ed, well, what would it be like if you couldn't trust those close to you? Or if you looked at any new person in your life with deep suspicion? I hear this from my clients all the time. What do they want from me? Or how are they going to manipulate me? Or they're probably only friends with me because of my money. Okay, so let's stop right there. Cenk, weigh in.
Yes, so this story has me conflicted. It's a roller coaster ride. So I'm gonna take you through the whole roller coaster. But
buckle
first,
up.
Okay, yes, definitely buckle up. First, let me just double down on what Anna said. Succession is such a great show. Its executive producers are Adam McKay and Will Ferrell. And Adam McKay right now, the single most successful producer and director in Hollywood. He did The Big Short, he did Vice. He's got the Leonardo DiCaprio movie, Don't Look Up, coming out. And he's a huge progressive. Not only has he been on the show, he watches the show like you guys do, okay? And I ran into Will Ferrell once and he's had nice things to say about the show. So it's wonderful to see actual progressives putting out this message, and they're right. It's modeled on the Murdoch family, and every time when I watch it, I have great schadenfreude, and I feel so good about myself because I'm like, oh, it turns out these incredibly wealthy right-wingers are neurotic messes, and they're disasters.
They're miserable.
They're totally miserable, and I feel great about it.
Agreed.
Now, that's the beginning of the roller coaster. Now, I don't feel, since I'm such a bleeding heart lib, I don't feel great that all rich people feel miserable. No, when it comes to the right wing and the Murdochs of the world who are doing so much damage to the rest of us, and all those Republican donors who are in favor of their tax cuts, those guys I have no sympathy for, okay? So now, look, is it true Or is this just like, oh, cry me a river about how rich you are and everybody wants your money and stuff? No, it's true. They are actually miserable. And it's not just this guy saying it. Every interaction that I have had with ultra wealthy folks, they're not in some magical la la land where they're all super happy, like, hey, we made it, we've got money. You assume that because that's how you would feel because you were a poor or middle class and you've always thought like, oh, if I could just get that and then I would feel great, etc. But they didn't grow up that way.
So let me contextualize this further because I think it's important. So the very people in this country who have exploited a system that's rigged in their favor, which makes them fabulously wealthy and other people struggle, still doesn't make them happy. It's not good enough because that comes along with a whole host of other issues, including, are my friends really my friends because they like me? And do I really serve a purpose in life? So yeah, I think that context matters. And look, let me just get this off my chest right away. I don't feel bad for them at all, like 0%. I feel zero empathy for them. Do you feel like maybe your friends aren't genuine? Cry me a goddamn river, okay? Are you living in a cardboard box on the sidewalk? I don't think so. Oh, do you feel like maybe you don't have purpose in life? Go find purpose, bitch. Don't cry about it. Okay, you have endless resources to carve a path of your own without having to rely on mama and papa to do everything for you. I know it's tough. It's tough when you have someone wiping your ass for you every single day and you have servants doing everything for you. It's tough to get out of that comfort zone and actually have to work for something. But if you want to find purpose, work for it, okay? After your therapy session, maybe think about what you want to do with your life.
So I'm definitely more conflicted than Anna on this because of two reasons, and then I'll go back to supporting her. Okay, so number one, it's so hard for us to understand how they grew up. They never had to work for anything, and so, and I say this, I get how deeply ironic it is, right? But it sapped them of the best part of life. To me, the best part of life is fulfillment. And that's why I talk to you guys like, hey, get involved, go join Wolfpack or Just Democrats or Rebellion Pack, whatever, or whatever your local group is, because fulfillment's a hell of a drug. When you actually work for something and you get it accomplished, it feels so good. Nothing feels better than that. But they've never experienced that their whole lives. And everyone around them is also incredibly wealthy and spoiled and generally miserable. So they're in a bubble. They have no idea how we feel about them. And whenever they hear, oh, they're gonna do a billionaire tax or whatever like that, they think, oh, the masses are evil and they're coming to get our money and all they never worked for it and they just want our money. And everyone around them says the same thing. So they really think they're right, that they're the victims. And I know it seems impossible to believe. How could they possibly think that? But they genuinely do, right? Now that doesn't necessarily make it any better, right? But I'm telling you how they actually think. And so, but I've seen it with my own eyes. They are really miserable. They never find happiness because they didn't earn it. They're constantly worried that people are gonna take their money. They're obsessed with greed. In the book that is almost done, Justice is Coming is the name of my book, and you could pre-order it at justicecomingbook.com. I have a section called Greed is Dumb. And I tell you why we as progressives are smarter than the richest people in the world. Because if your goal is money, it's never enough. It's an endless cycle of greed. So they're always like, more, I need more. They're just like Gollum. They really, Tolkien nailed it, precious. Dude, you already have enough, enjoy it, you schmucks. You schmuck of schmucks. But they really are that clueless.
But I mean, think about what it also takes to become wealthy in a lot of different cases. So oftentimes, I mean, there are people who will literally turn on their own friends, like Dave Rubin, in order to acquire wealth. But then what are you left with? You're left in a room full of people who don't like you, don't respect you, don't really see you as a friend. You abandoned your real friends, and sure, you live in a $5 million mansion, but it's pretty damn lonely in that mansion where everyone in the outside world is mocking you constantly, right?
So that's a little bit different, Anna, because they didn't grow up rich. So the Rubens and Doors of the world, they're crying in their mansions all alone.
But my point is, like, I get what you're saying, and there is a difference. Like, if you've been raised in a wealthy family, that's a different experience from becoming incredibly wealthy. But my point is, wealth by itself is not something that's gonna make an individual happy. What makes a person happy? Like, really stop and think about it. Let's not joke ourselves. Obviously, we all need to have our basic needs met. We all need to have a roof over our heads, comfort in our lives, and all of that. But your happiest moments in life are not the moments where you're like coming up with a ton of cash, right? It's the moments where you get to enjoy moments with your family, right? With your friends, when you have experiences, when you're at a concert with people, when you're able to share an experience with your loved ones, when you experience love with your partner, right? Intimacy, like that's in our code. Like, that's what humans are, right? Like a sense of community. And I think that in our society, in the United States, there's just always such an emphasis on property, on money, on wealth, on all the material stuff, that I think it kind of makes people assume that money is like the end all be all of creating happiness in your life. It doesn't create happiness. And in the case of these like people who grow up in wealthy families, yeah, since they've had everything handed to them, they don't know what it's like to have to work hard and accomplish something on your own and feel the thrill of accomplishing something, right? That's why they don't have this sense of purpose. But get over it. You can create a path for yourself. You can use the resources that you're super lucky to have because of your wealthy family to create a path for yourself. I mean, Siobhan could have done that. She could have been the campaign manager for the bootleg Bernie Sanders, but she didn't do it because she wants validation from daddy. I'm talking about Succession, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So last part of the roller coaster here, it's a couple turns left, real quick. Look, I've never heard anyone say, oh no, you don't need money unless they were rich. Okay, for poor folks and middle class folks, you know you need money. But at the same time, you shouldn't be obsessed with it because it's definitive. It does not bring you the happiness you think it brings you. And there's limits, right? There's different thresholds. You get to a certain threshold, actually 70,000 a year. We've showed you the studies before. I'm surprised it's that small, that low, right? And that's higher than the average American's income, but it's not like a millionaire or anything. You get to a certain threshold where you're not scared to death of not being able to pay the rent or the mortgage and getting humiliated, etc. Not being able to feed your kids. Once you get past that threshold, then we're all nearly even. And then I'm sure there are other thresholds, but once you get to a point where you're at extreme wealth, the incremental dollars do not help you at all. They probably hurt you, right? So, and by the way, but progressives at the same time, don't hate all wealthy people. That's crazy. There's a lot of wealthy people who started out poor or middle class and made it. And whether they started out middle class or not, there's a lot of wealthy people who do good things in the world. So don't use it as a blanket statement. That's crazy. And then the last turn is this. But if you're not obscenely wealthy, but you're middle class, you're hanging in there, you're doing all right, please enjoy life. There is no magical place where things are filled with unicorns and rainbows. You probably have it as good as it gets.
No, life always sucks. Like, let's just be clear about that, no matter what. No.
Last turn, I didn't expect.
But like, your life is probably not gonna get any better than it is now. No, but seriously, hold on, but think about it, okay? Because again, what really does make you happy in life? It's the people around us, the people closest to us. And as we get older, those people slowly pass. And I know that's like a morbid thing to say, but it really helps me personally enjoy the present because I have the people that I love the most still with me. And so when I'm going through something tough, I'm like, hey, at least I get to go visit my parents over the weekend, or I get to spend time with these loved ones. And so try to put all of that in context. Whatever you're going through right now, it'll eventually pass. But don't forget to enjoy the good parts of your life right now.
Yeah, so to summarize, rich people, go do something good in the world. You'll be shocked at how good you feel. That's the cure to the therapy that you need, okay? That's just, if you're miserable, go spend that money on yourself and on others and you'll feel amazing. And if you're not obscenely wealthy like these folks, Don't sweat it, man. It's that kind of wealth, you don't need it, and oftentimes it makes you, or certainly your kids, way more miserable. And I'll end on this. Russell Brand was once on the show, and I asked him, because he said he was really miserable growing up, and then he became famous, and he always wanted to be famous and wealthy. And I asked Russell, did it work? Once you got fame, did you feel better? And he said, not at all. It didn't fill the hole in my heart at all. And so it's an illusion. It's an illusion that the media gives you. Oh, if you're just rich or if you're just famous, you'll be fine. No, you can be fine now. Of course you need some money. There's no question about that. But there's so many wonderful things around you, and in a sense, the good news is we all don't know how good we have it. It doesn't get that much better up there. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.